Welcome to the 12th Laptop and Desktop Workgroup call. The Laptop and Desktop Workgroup call officially turns 1 year old. This is the anniversary call, so to say. We managed to run this show, or actually we have run it 11 times. This time we're running it the 12th time, so basically the next time is going to be sort of the actual anniversary, you could argue. But for anybody who's joining the first time, this session is being recorded. If you don't want to be in the recording, please mute yourself, turn off your camera, and you will not be on the recording. We have also a bit of housekeeping in terms of etiquette and how to handle our communications within the call. We want to follow the FreeBSD project's community code of conduct, which boils down in terms of talking within this call with the following bullet points. If you don't want to say something, please mute yourselves. If you do want to say something, then please, if anybody else except myself is speaking, please raise your virtual hand and we will take turns. If you want to interrupt me as a speaker, please feel free to do so, because sometimes as a speaker, I might not immediately notice that if you have your hands up. So I personally prefer that you just interject whenever you think there's something reasonable to add, or if you have questions. We will start with the minutes of the last call, then do a rundown of the FreeBSD Foundation's laptop project, which will be done most likely by Alice. I'm not completely sure if she's already joined back on the call, but we will manage. And finally, whatever time is left on the call, we will be spending on the worksheet to update whatever is there to share. So last time we again took a look at the suggested governance model that is now following in the footsteps of the Enterprise Working Group. And also one additional point that we pointed out is that the recordings of this call are now actually shared on a separate meetings channel. It's no longer on the standard FreeBSD channel. It's separated out, but all the collective past recordings are again found on there, and they have been also linked back on the wiki page. The Foundation laptop project was presenting the various updates around done and completed in September, which focused on graphics update on DRM KMod, where Jean-Sébastien actually asked us to verify some issues that we were seeing with machines freezing, if I remember correctly, on shutdown or reboot. And he was asking us, actually it was particularly for Intel systems, I should add, and he was asking us to use the sysctl to verify if that was still happening or not with more recent commits and previous versions. And yes, there was also a reminder to please, as soon as it is published, and I think by now it has been published, the boot image by Emmerich to test whether the modern and updated standby features are working as they are supposed to do on a broader range of available hardware beyond the reference model that we're seeing with the the Framework 13. We did spend also a lot of work to update on the worksheet. I think that also saw a couple of nice improvements, particularly around the VirtualBox and installer and the heterogeneous core topics. And finally, we talked about the calendar. Yes, there is a Google Calendar linked to the wiki page, and we also now added reminders so we can basically get reminded when the call starts. There's actually 2 reminders now, one set 1 day in advance and one exactly when the call starts. And as it turns out, that does not, or unfortunately did not, save us completely from the daylight saving times issues that we probably all are aware of. Unfortunately, I set the entry for this call on GMT 0, but unfortunately, that was not the UTC time, which I published the last time. So we are starting exactly at the UTC time. I apologize for screwing up the calendar. The calendar was set to start 1 hour in advance, but fortunately, you guys all understood that the actual start time is 6 p.m. UTC, which is basically a couple minutes ago. And this is actually going to be the same, I think, the next time, but we'll come to that the next time. And as it says right here, yes, we had this change in time zone, daylight saving times. That's why basically we stuck with the US time, which is 10 a.m. PT and 1 p.m. ET, which I also now fixed on the wiki. And that's the minutes of the last call. Unless anybody has anything else to add or any feedback to the minutes, I think we're going to move back to the slides. All right. And we can now move back to the laptop project.
So if anybody's new here or wants to be oriented on what this project is, so the FreeBSD Foundation is working to deliver a package of improved or new FreeBSD functionality for running on a laptop or on a desktop out of the box, mainly laptop focused. The reasons for doing that is to make it not only easier to use for developers, but also to make it a more compelling choice for everybody, but starting with developers. So as always, we've been working hard to create the report of what happened in October. So you can see we have a couple of things completed here. We've got some graphics work done. Then we've got some things in review. Particular note there, we have a S4 Hibernate design, which is essentially how are we going to put a FreeBSD laptop into the S4 Hibernate state. We've had a few people review that design. We'd really appreciate anyone who's got expertise in this area to come and take a look. Even if you don't have expertise and you are clever, we also appreciate your input. And then we have a few other bits there. I'll talk more about KDE in a moment. And then the developers working on the hibernation have actually started a little bit of proof of concept work because of wanting to make some progress while the design is being reviewed. Anyway, I'll let you folks take a look at this update. And if you look on the left-hand side, you can see that there are reports going all the way back to the beginning of the year. In fact, just the very end of last year. And we've got some other things in here like roadmaps as well.
Let me ask you, you guys worked on this HackMD document. Do we want to show that maybe? Because I think that's also, as you said, I mean, this is basically what you guys want feedback on, right?
That's right. Yeah. So you should be able to go in there and add comments, and you can see there's already a few comments in there.
It is fairly technical, though, as I can tell, right?
Yes. Yeah, it's pretty technical.
All right, got it.
All right. This slide looked better in my mind. It looks quite like a collage, doesn't it? So one of our developers, Alfonso Siciliano, has created the option within the FreeBSD installer to be able to get a graphical interface desktop environment, which is KDE currently. We think this will land in 15.1, but there is a rather good video that Mark Phillips, who works for the foundation, has created. That's been extremely popular. It's a nice video to watch. And if you want to watch the video, that would be great. If you want to share the video, that would also be great. If you want to test, that would be even better. So it's not part of, it's not been committed into the tree at all yet, but you can get it from Alfonso's own GitLab repo, which you can see is linked to there. And then if you have any feedback on trying it, then you can put that either directly to Alfonso or into the desktop mailing list. So that's something fun to try for people who like that kind of thing. This is a repeat of last month's, but this time it has a link in it. So we did follow up with a link last time but the link was not ready in time for the meeting last month, but now it is. So even though that link was shared during October, it's not too old. And I think latest information I have is that they're still looking for feedback on that. So please go ahead and test and share. Our normal set of resources here that if you're interested in the project, please come and take a look at the roadmap, the work in progress, etc. Join the desktop mailing list. That's the best place to give feedback or ask questions. And there's a blog post too that we created right at the very beginning. And I think that's everything. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Oh, I added this slide.
There's
Chris.
one more. Yes. Okay.
Surprise! It's not part of the lab. It's not part of the foundation's work.
Right.
It's a community effort. But I don't know. Do we actually have Dimitri here? I suggested to him if he could come, but
Okay.
perhaps he hasn't been able to. So this came up a few days ago.
Mm-hmm.
That yeah, feel free to click on that, Chris. I think it's the best way to demonstrate it. So Dimitri has set up this repo where he is aiming to capture, if I understand correctly, which laptop models and which bits of laptop hardware work with different BSDs. It's currently FreeBSD and OpenBSD. And then it says if you run NetBSD, they would also like to know about that. And you can see that basically what they want to do is what Dimitri wants to do with community support is to have an up-to-date list and for people to submit, works on my machine and give all the details so that it can be consolidated into one place. But that's all I know. It's not my project.
There is also a wiki page that lists various models and what works and what doesn't work. It's definitely not exhaustive and probably doesn't hold all the most recent models, unfortunately. So I kind of get where this is coming from, or basically the idea behind that is probably to get more data and more, let's say, a broader spectrum of hardware. What I'm not getting yet, though, is so this is just collecting. Does it also present the results somewhere?
I think that's what he is suggesting that he would do eventually.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no, you're welcome. Just passing the message on. Really, I think it's one of those things where, it's if there's going to be some automation, as it's sort of, it says here, using real world logs and configs to automatically generate compatibility reports, rankings, troubleshooting scripts. I mean, if it's going to be programmatically sort of interrogated or processed in some way, then maybe that is a solution that people want to get behind rather than a static page. It's people who want to get involved can decide. Yes.
The one thing I'm a little uncertain about is collecting that information is definitely helpful because it helps us understand what kind of hardware is recognized, let's say. However, I'm a little uncertain whether it will help us, for example, understand whether, for example, sleep is going to work or not. Because if I'm looking at, let's say, I don't know, if I'm going back to the laptop wiki page, for example, there's a bunch of systems that are probably, CPU wise, it might be able to support sleep or hibernate. But it just doesn't work, or it needs configuration and these kinds of things. I'm a little skeptical whether that's going to be possible to automate to detect that. But regardless, I guess it's still worthwhile to try. Yeah. All right. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
And I actually would like to start with something that we left off with the last time, which was the installer, because I think this is a nice segue from actually your beautiful slide. I can I can go back to this one mentally for the installer slide, because I also got in touch with Alfonso about the installer, because there was a question from the last time about the encrypted UFS encrypted state and the installer. And Alfonso came back with a reply on both of them. It turns out the logging capability is actually already incorporated in his work. I also asked him about the UFS encrypted disks, and he said that this is not yet in there. He kind of seizes on the roadmap, but for the time being, that's not in there. So I would keep that as is, basically. Maybe I should add the way this works from what I learned from Alfonso's email, and if you watch his talk from EuroBSDCon, you can probably also learn that from that in more detail. I have to admit, I kind of I arrived late to Alfonso's talk at EuroBSDCon and kind of misunderstood this two-phased approach to the installer that is implemented or is being implemented right now. The way it is being done right now is that the first stage is actually writing a script that is then being executed. So a user can actually very nicely and easily understand what the installer is going to do by just looking at that script. So basically, we have the answer for what we were asking for here in terms of making things more traceable and understandable for users in terms of what is the installer actually doing. I guess with the future installer or the let's say next generation installer, that will actually be fulfilled and possible to do. All right, so does anybody have any updates that they want to share? Is there anything that we should modify, update from anybody in the audience? Okay, nothing there. Then let's quickly continue where we left off the last time. I think that was the installer we talked about, but the APM TPM driver. I think we briefly talked about that, if I'm not mistaken. I guess this is it. AMD TPM driver. Glab asked for that, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. Does anybody know more about this? Any inputs around that? I'm gonna ask Glabel for a little more detail. SDDM issues on notebook with EMD graphics. I remember there was a mailing. Yeah, there we go. There was a mailing list entry about that where people, I think, were referring to issues. This is quite recent. No, this was 2024. Okay. It is 12th November. This is exactly a year ago. Nice. Okay. Anybody can confirm whether that still exists. I can shoot Mark. I can shoot an email to Mark and ask whether he can confirm whether that is still a trouble or not. Because otherwise we're going to be wondering, I think. There needs to be a well-documented method for doing a complete bare metal restore. That is a good question. I suppose there is documentation in the handbook how to back up a full system. Is there or is there not? Can anybody confirm? Looking just at the handbook and searching for backup, unfortunately, does not produce any result that I would immediately feel confident in following up here. It's backup basics. Okay. Backup basics, file system backups. Oh, yes, you're absolutely right. Here we are. Directory backups, using data tapes, third-party backup utilities, emergency recovery. Actually, there's something there, but that is very bare bones, let's say. Yeah, there is no description how to actually restore, at least the way I see it right now.
That documentation one about bare metal restore.
Yes.
I was wondering if there was anyone that wanted to take that on, or because if we can get owners for these, then we may not have to touch them again.
That's a very good question. Anybody on the call willing, ready to do that? Okay, not at the moment. Obviously, I have to admit, I'm certainly open to look into it, but I'm not 100% sure whether I have the time available to do this at the moment. So I don't want to put myself in. But actually, I will. Let me do it like this. Let's ask on the mailing list, because admittedly, this is a task I think that is reasonably or fairly straightforward, even though, no, actually, I should rephrase that. We should probably split that into various scenarios, because it depends on how you run your system, whether you have encryption or not have encryption, whether you run CFS or UFS. So there's different variations. But at the end of the day, I think if we split that up, it should be possible to produce something fairly straightforward. Maybe even a GitHub repo with a couple scripts could actually do that, possibly. But again, I don't wanna push the agenda at the moment myself, because I'm not 100% sure whether I can fulfill the commitment. But I will make the suggestion, and maybe I'm going to split the various cases and ask on the mailing list if anybody is willing to join the work. Let's put it like that. Because if there's more people joining that, then maybe I can also produce something, and then maybe adding the parts together will actually create a full thing. Speeding up the documentation, I think that is, again, this is a huge undertaking, because on the one hand side, I think that has to do with the process. It has to do with the governance, with the tooling, maybe even bringing in more people, bringing in more reviewers, raising awareness. At the end of the day, I would even argue this call is actually hopefully helping even with that. If anybody has any relevant documentation, this is a great platform to actually, help with the visibility, help with bringing people to help with the reviews, testing, and hopefully also then committing things. But I would argue there is no easy answer here. Building desktop-centric documentation, Chinese BSD community example. Well, here I would even again point back to the handbook. If I search for laptop, there is nothing specific here, actually. So this might actually also be a potential topic to maybe suggest some addition in terms of, how do you get sorted? How do you get sorted if you want to try FreeBSD on a mobile system? To give some pointers and hints, maybe that is also worthwhile to consider as an addition or a potential addition to the handbook. Yeah, maybe again, suggestion for a handbook chapter. Unless anybody else, or maybe article again. If anybody has any other ideas or suggestions, please feel free to speak up. Terminal legible handbook. Terminal legible handbook. Oh, I think I remember. Dudley. There were people asking for a way to access the handbook from the terminal. What is that? Let me see. The FreeBSD handbook. So apparently Dudley is trying that already, if I read this right. Okay, I guess I have to give that a spin and see if that works. Okay, nice. So it looks like he's already got something running, if I read this right. Let's put that in progress, since Dudley seems to be working on this. If you want to try that out, maybe I imagine Dudley would be interested in getting feedback. I now put that in progress. Code repository to share content and code. Okay, there were suggestions for other besides Fabricator and GitHub, from what I understand. I'm not sure whether there is going to be any agreement on what is the right platform, but I guess that's what it is right now. Improving documentation on Wi-Fi compatibility. I remember there's been a journal entry. Was that on Wi-Fi? I'm not 100% sure.
Well, you need to look in the hardware documentation for which for the specific release on which Wi-Fi cards are usable, as always.
I'm wondering what is actually meant by documentation on the compatibility. Does that mean, as you say, basically, is it about having a list what kind of chipsets are supported?
Yeah,
Or
that list is published for every new release.
right.
The hardware list.
Well, there is no. Actually, you're right. Probably the discoverability is probably not perfect. To be honest.
Put the link in the chat for the
So
4.3 release.
if one knows the module, then obviously you can look at the man page, and there you also have the various lists of chipsets that are supported by that. Admittedly, as I said, the discoverability is kind of terrible because first of all, you would already actually no, that's not completely true. You can look at the main pages from the web. There is a web version, but I suspect you would not be able to look that up in one place, or at least not easily. I suspect, and if you Google for that, you will probably also not immediately discover that. Yeah, Björn, please.
I wonder if this was related to all the USB dongles, and for them, you find 1,000 of different ones with the same chipsets out there, and you can't list them all.
Mm-hmm. That is a good point, because there's so many manufacturers. This would be a never-ending story. That is actually that is a very good point. What would be possible in that sense is creating scripts and sort of an online database, something along the lines of what Alice shared previously about the general hardware compatibility. If anybody has any kind of dongle, it would be possible to just, take the manufacturer and model code. They would be general enough to share whether something runs or doesn't run on FreeBSD. And
Yeah, or not, because you'll find them TP-Link, Archer, C43, or whatever you call them, random name now. And then there's a V1, V2, V3, V4. And most of the time you don't know, and the chipset changes between version most of the time. So
oh my God, okay.
you can have a Realtek in V1 and a MediaTek in V2 and a Qualcomm in V3.
Okay. Well, that is not very nice. Okay. Well, then obviously no easy answer, unfortunately. I guess
The easy answer is really you need PCI or USB IDs and check them.
Yeah, plug it in and try.
And no one online in the web shop will give those to you.
Yeah, I was also just thinking, basically we can share a link to, I don't know, a Newegg or Amazon page where you can order stuff. But even that might not even be a guarantee that you might end up with a different version. And then 1 month it works, and next month it no longer works because it still says the same thing on the label, but it comes with a different thing inside. I've actually had that experience myself, so I know how painful that is. Yeah, thanks. Good, very good point, though. Yeah, did not think about that.
Be careful. I.e., one manufacturer and model may have different versions that work differently. One works, one doesn't. So, all right.
Better documentation installing manually in the handbook. Well, I think here I would point to the
installer improvements and two-stage approach to learn how to install things yourself.
So I would argue that is kind of being worked on, at least in terms of technical documentation. Question is whether that would help a newcomer to do this yourself, but I would be surprised whether a newcomer would actually want to try that. Not sure. But better documentation on Wayland. Sergio, I think, wanted to work on this also. But the same problem here. If anybody, actually, I will. You know what? Since I'm already writing an email to the mailing list about various handbook topic suggestions, I will put that on here as well. Add that to the mail to the mailing list.
Work suggestions for topics. Looking for willing authors. Okay, I'm going to ask around.
Troubleshooting and debug guide for users on how to produce useful bug reports for Wi-Fi. Actually, no, actually that's not going to be sufficient. The bug reports, there was a EuroBSD talk by Michael Dexter, if I'm not misremembering. I think he ran a show on how to file good bug reports. So I think that is part of the story, but the Wi-Fi debugging and how to do good debugging, that might be something else, I suppose.
I'm just going to check, Chris. I think that Tom Jones might be working on something, unless I'm conflating two different things. I'm just checking now.
Right, okay. I think Tom wrote a journal article recently also about the Wi-Fi development, didn't he? Or
he did. That's why I'm thinking that part 3 might have been filing bug reports. Yeah, so part 3 is kernel debugging for Wi-Fi issues, but
there you go. Right. So development part 2, working on a driver. I just found this. So that's I think we recently also showed that on the call, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. Let's see what Tom puts in his guide.
Okay, perfect. Yes.
And then come back to it.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure that was going to be included.
Perfect. All right.
But yeah, we'll see.
Perfect.
So it's coming out in November, so any time now, mid-November.
Thank you. Graphics interface for working with file managers and CFS snapshots. I think that is probably not happening at the moment. I remember that conversation that people wanted better integration of CFS snapshots in the various file managers, whether it is KDE, GNOME, or others. I'm not aware of anybody picking that up, or is anybody aware of that?
Yeah, I posted the link in the chat. There is one in the Solaris environment that should be open sourced.
All right. Time slider. Nice. Okay.
It's equivalent to what I believe Apple calls Wayback Machine or something.
Right. Yeah.
So if this should exist in Illumos or any other version of Open Solaris. So it should be grabbable.
All right. Thank you for sharing. I'm going to check out the code and look at that. Wondering how much work that would be. I think Lars, you also replied about the Solaris file manager, if I remember correctly, right? You were part of that conversation, if I'm not mistaken.
Maybe a long time ago.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's probably a couple of weeks back. And move to the next point. Input methods. Japanese. I remember that Dumbbell, Jean-Sebastien, I think he suggested something for that a while back. Is that in here somewhere? No. Apparently I didn't jot that down. I remember there is some tool, but it's not, it's imports, if I remember correctly, but I forgot. So basically you need X11 running for this to work. So it's not going to help you on the console though. And I think Tiaoki, right? Yeah, Tiaoki, I think, was asking about the console, if I'm not mistaken.
There is a project that for CJK input on the console.
Okay.
It was a GSOC from several years ago.
Okay.
Unfortunately, it's languished since then, but it certainly could be brought back and integrated.
Okay. All right. Great. Thank you. Color supportability. Well, I mean, Dumbbell actually spoke to that the last time. I think that, again, that is a huge undertaking, I would argue, at least from what I understand. This would basically come to sort of working or reworking a bunch of the general design here. So definitely not easy. Improved font for VT. Abstract graphics layer. There is some work happening here. VGL. Actually, I think I checked out VGL. The way I looked at VGL, if I'm not mistaken, that is actually not working with VT. I think that works with SC, if I'm not mistaken. So if you want to use that, you would be stuck with BIOS boot. You could not use UEFI. Not 100% sure whether Kay Peterson's work is putting that. I'm gonna shoot him an email and ask for an update. Maybe he wants to present what's going on there. X11 chapter improvements. Actually, I think that got committed, if I'm not mistaken. Alexander did a bunch of work there, if I remember correctly. I believe that landed.
Yes, he did.
The man pages, I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. I'm aware that he also worked on those. The man pages are no longer listed for review here, so I would suspect they landed as well. Yeah. Okay. Creating tutorials. Graphical IDE. Could swear there is already there's something around, but not 100% sure if that completed. Apparently it's in progress, but I cannot speak whether that is at what state that is. Anybody got any idea on that? Because I could swear I've seen some tutorials and articles floating around.
Yeah, but Alexander updated, for example, chapter 5.4 and 5.2.3.
Okay.
As I'm aware, because it's a lot more consistent and modern now than it was half a year ago.
Right. Okay. Yes, I see.
So it works. It's done now up to the point to get the DRM Kmod installed, but it's not it doesn't include the Linux compatibility yet.
Well, it says something here about the graphics drivers.
Yeah.
So even that is at least in the handbook.
So that's done, but Linux compatibility is not there yet.
Better updating experience. Well, I would argue that is being worked on, isn't it? Yes. And it's graduated. Yes, that's what I wanted to suggest, because PKG base, I think that is definitely already well on the road. NVIDIA drivers. So these are all graduated. Perfect. Okay. So actually we managed to get through the whole list. Anybody got anything to add, or either add to the list or add in terms of comments?
Yeah, as I purchased my first AMD-based computer, I found out that you cannot display the core temperatures.
Really?
Yeah. Core temperatures for modern Ryzen processors are the AMD temp and the core temps drivers isn't working.
Okay. Is this a particular Ryzen, or is this the AI? What's it called? The AI series, or I forgot the name.
I purchased a Threadripper and built a big machine. So
okay.
And I can't see the core temperatures anywhere. So I think some work needs to be done to the recent Ryzen architecture's temperature monitoring.
Latest temperature showing temperature readings. Okay. That is probably, well, hardware. Let's go to hardware. Let's start it. Okay. Okay.
Well, thanks for sharing. I not completely sure how complicated that is, to be honest. I'm wondering whether that when that started failing, because I've got an AMD-based framework computer. I need to check whether that is working on this one or not. I'm gonna try that. Has anybody been following the mailing list? Because I could swear there were a couple more items on there for suggestions. Yes. Oh, actually, that is a good topic that maybe we want to add to the list here. UDF. There was a conversation around modern, what's it called, Blu-ray not working. The actually like really large discs are apparently not working properly.
Yeah, we had a discussion about how to fit the
installers
set of packages onto a DVD media.
Ah, right.
And apparently Mr. Percival has problems of fitting it into a 4.7 gigabyte DVD.
Mm-hmm.
So I proposed that we abandon the 4.7 gigabyte DVD format and go for the 8.5 gigabyte double layer format.
Mm-hmm.
Which will solve the present problem. And then people started talking about Blu-ray formats and UDF formats and lots of things that we could be nice for an even larger image, but is not needed today, really.
Yeah, good point. Yeah.
So if you diverge from the DVD format and go for more modern things, you will also have to upgrade your DVD player, which is a different topic altogether. But DVD double layer format was issued already 20 years ago, so that shouldn't be an issue.
Actually, I remember when I read your remark about the graphics drivers, I was wondering whether it would be an issue to mix the licensing here, because I think the graphics drivers, as they are right now, are probably all GPL licensed, I suspect, because we basically import those from Linux.
The graphics drivers are essentially all permissively licensed MIT or equivalent.
Ah, really? Okay.
Even so in Linux, the vast majority of, well, at least the interesting drivers in Linux are all permissively licensed.
Wow.
So
okay.
i9-15 and AMD GPU and some others. There are some individual drivers that are GPL, but the ones that are kind of mainstream common ones are licensed. We do the AMD or the DRM KMod module or the modules right now have a very small amount of GPL code. So basically, Linux KPI in DRM mod has a very tiny amount of GPL. I think at this point it might even just be some header files, not actually any code. So in the foreseeable future, it will be entirely permissively licensed.
Okay. All right. I guess then this would not stop us from creating a medium with everything included then, yeah. All right. So what I'm hearing now is UDF, okay, there's interest, but it would not stop us, or it should not stop us from being able to still create an installer that fits things into, let's say, a larger DVD, but not necessarily a Blu-ray disc.
Correct.
All right. So
all you have to do is to put in a text in the release notes saying that we want you to use DVD DL disc format.
Mm.
And the prices of the DVD DL discs are the same as the standard discs. So
have come down.
It's not economic problem.
Good point. Oh, that's it. All right. Nothing else on the mailing list. At least nothing that was marked. There were a couple of mails around hardware and Wi-Fi. Our next call is gonna be on. Oh, actually, yes, there is a shift here. Because if we follow the regular timetable, it would actually be a week after. But unfortunately, the week after, I have an engagement that I cannot move. So I want to ask whether it would be okay if next month, as an exception, we have the call on December 3, which I think also with Christmas and everything, and the holiday season coming up, I think it would probably be reasonable to have an earlier call. And then when we come back in January, we at least will have a couple of weeks in between where a bit more progress is potentially possible. Anybody has any, constraints or complaints in terms of the suggestion to move things to December 3rd? Or do you prefer to have it on December 10th, basically? Because then I would have to look for a stand-in. Leave it up to you guys. Yeah.
I probably wouldn't be able to compile the monthly report before the meeting.
Good point, yeah. Okay.
But, I don't know if people are just fine to pick it up afterwards. I can always drop it into the mailing list.
Again, I want to leave it open. So what I'm hearing is it would probably be smarter to still have it on December 10th, because then otherwise we lose the alignment with the laptop project, right?
Yeah, I mean it's only occasionally, isn't it?
Right.
I don't mind either way. I mean, if you want me to run it like I did before, I can do.
That's why I'm. Yeah, it's kind of the underlying question, probably. If you don't mind moderating on December 10, then I would suggest we'll leave it at December 10. I will update the slides, so it says December 10, and we'll leave it at December 10. Then I'll fix the calendar entry, and we'll leave it at on the 10th. Is that okay with you, Alice?
Yeah, that's fine with me. Can you drop me a note to just?
Yes, absolutely. I will.
By email, and then I can put it into my system of remembering.
All right. Okay, I will. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Appreciate the help. Okay, perfect. With that, basically, quick reminder, please watch the mailing list, participate, pick up stuff if you're interested. If you have questions, and I hope I will see you next call. Thank you very much for joining. Thank you for being part of the community. Thank you for contributing. Thank you so much. I will actually then see you next year because I'll be unable to join next time. So happy holidays and happy new year, I guess. I will see you next year. Thank you very much for joining. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye now.